Right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We are live. Good morning. Good morning, ERG leaders. We are live on LinkedIn. Please do not swear. I mean, you know what? I feel like it's Christmas. So if the odd F bomb gets dropped, apologies up front now, right? I've had two people now that have dropped an F bomb before. But thank you to Kay and Dan and Junior for joining me. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
And for anybody that's noticed, I didn't get the memo. Like the three leads have conspired against me to wear something a festive color. To be fair, so I've got a red lip and I've also got sort of like red nails. So that's my festive offering. So good morning if you are joining us live. Please do say good morning in the chat. And it is the festive season. We're all hoping to be winding down and switching off. So I've got three ERG leads with me currently, and hopefully another one dashing through the snow to get into the studio this morning. Good morning, Adrian. So Adrian and I, for those that had an offline conversation yesterday, a real life conversation. Adrian, I'm going to try to pronounce your name correctly. Adrian Aronser. Good morning, Adrian. Honestly, the conversation with you, Adrian, blew my mind, literally blew my mind. Fantastic. So you'll be seeing Adrian soon here on a LinkedIn Live. Adrian, I'm gonna, for anybody that's joining, I'm gonna be asking you to take part in the first question, which is going to be, what's your favorite Christmas film or your favorite Christmas song or tradition? Oh, we've got Andrea. Good morning, Andrea Southall. How are you doing? Many of us know Andrea from your days at Rick's. Andrea, I'm always threatening to pull you in here. So I'm sure that will happen one day. So in the chat, your favorite Christmas film. Good morning, Sylvia. Morning, Sylvia, and of course, what's your favorite Christmas film or song or tradition? Before we get into that for the panelists, I'm going to give a quick intro to our panelists. And, these panelists are no stranger to this LinkedIn. So here is the introduction that ChatGPT wrote for Junior Beaman. Junior is a senior leadership coach at NatWest Group with deep experience in ERG leadership and culture change. He brings a strong coaching mindset to network work with a focus on behaviors, ownership, and creating the conditions where people can do their best work. Junior is especially thoughtful about sustainability and the role of leaders in setting tone and direction. Marks out of 10, Junior, for ChatGPT today on its introduction.
Oh, I keep going, love. This is nice, like a Christmas gift. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. You're welcome. Kay O'Neill is communications and events manager at LSE and co-chair of Spectrum, the LGBTQIA plus staff network. With a background in communications, brand and audience engagement, Kay brings clarity and intention to how networks show up and speak to their members. She's particularly strong on comms discipline, intersectional working, and creating spaces people actually want to engage with. Kay, how did ChatGPT do? Marks out of 10.
I'll give it an 8. I did like the clarity and intention. ChatGPT also accidentally misgendered me, so 2 marks deduction for that.
Oh no, you're right. Yes.
Damn that algorithmic bias.
Damn that. Yeah, absolutely. They. Apologies, Kay. They, them. Well, that's a note, isn't it? Maybe I need to update my ChatGPT prompt. Yeah, tell it off. Dock its wages. And then we've got Dan. Dan says Yates. Dan is co-chair of Prism and commercial change lead at Co-op. With a strong background in change, comms, and stakeholder management, Dan brings a practical lens to ERG leadership. He's particularly focused on planning that's clear, achievable, and well supported, and on helping networks connect their work to wider business priorities. Dan, how did ChatGPT do on your intro?
I mean, it says a lot of my plans are achievable, but there's a running joke in our ERG that I tend to strive for unrealistic stuff. So maybe that needs a rework.
I think I maybe think that comes from the world of projects and planning. I worked for somebody, and he always used to say, plan for to achieve 120%, and you'll probably just hit 100%, right? So you always over commit in terms of what you're planning for. Right, we are going to go down to the favourites. I'm going to start with you, Kay. Favourite, either, all three, Christmas film or Christmas song, or your favourite Christmas tradition?
I'm going to go for a bit of a rogue Christmas movie because I just watched it this weekend in the cinema, and it's called Pillion. I would say not suitable for work and definitely not suitable for children, but it is a gay romance around the Christmas period, and I really, really enjoyed it. So definitely one on the Christmas list.
Okay.
And then for a Christmas song, if I don't hear All I Want for Christmas Is You at least 6 times before the end of the year, it's just not Christmas for me. So it's Mariah Carey banger.
Amazing. Are you going to sing it for us, Kay?
You don't want me to, Cheryl.
Even Junior's shaking his head like he's heard Kay sing. Sorry. Okay, Junior. Oh, in fact, let me go to the comments first of all. Adrian, thank you. My pronunciation was spot on. Sylvia, I'm with you. Well, before I was vegan, smoked salmon on toast and champagne on Christmas morning as the kids open the presents. Wow, that is good. Sylvia, we're all coming to your house. Okay, I'm going to go on to Junior. Your favorite Christmas film, song, or tradition, or all three?
Right, listen, I don't like Christmas that much, and there's not a Grinch or humbug situation. I just feel like it's just a lot. But I'll play your game. So I would say best song is probably going to be Destiny's Child, 8 Days of Christmas, because it's got like an R&B vibe to it. And you can film, well, The Nightmare Before Christmas, because Christmas is a nightmare, but also I love Halloween so much, so it like blends the two things together.
Oh, really? Okay.
And tradition, I think I just like the Christmas markets, even though they're like overwhelming. There's loads of people. I love a mulled wine. I love like going there like for a cheap coat, drinking my coffee time. So yeah, I like the markets.
Which market? Which is your favourite Christmas market of the ones that you've been to?
Controversial, but in Manchester.
Okay.
See, don't bring a snobbery of markets to me. Like,
well, to be honest, I mean, so my home city, Birmingham, has had a German market for a while. But for those of us that are local, we're all a little bit, it's just the same old. You get a little bit fatigued of it. Anyway, Christmas markets. We could do a whole LinkedIn Live literally just on that. Dan, your favorite Christmas film, song, or tradition?
So my favorite film from when I was a kid, and I watch it every year, even now, is Muppets Christmas Carol.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a soft spot for it. And Michael Caine, I just enjoy Michael Caine in it, and that is definitely a film I'm going to make my little one watch every year, even if he doesn't want to. Christmas song. I really like, the Waitresses Christmas wrapping.
I love that.
So I'd never really heard of it until 2 years ago when I asked a colleague what their favorite Christmas song was.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, it's this," and I was like, "What?" Anyway, I listened to it. I was like, and then over time, it's just ingrained in my brain.
Yeah. It is great. It's one of my best friend's favorite Christmas songs. Does anybody know that? Does anybody want to hum it? Because some people might. Dan, you need to hum it because some people don't know it.
I would. The lyrics. There's too many lyrics to remember.
Yeah. The chorus is "Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas."
I think I'll miss this one this year. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And Andrea Southall, another Muppets Christmas Carol. Yeah, that's not one that's ever really been on my radar, but yeah, favorite in our house. And my favorite moment is seeing my little boy's face light up when he sees the presents under the tree on Christmas morning. Pure magic. It's true. Once there are no kids in the house, Christmas is a little bit. It's just, it's just a quiet one this year. It's that kind of energy. My favorite Christmas film, without a shadow of a doubt, if you see my post, you'll know, is Elf. Absolutely, just love it. Santa, just love Elf. That's my favorite Christmas film. My favorite song is This Christmas, which was originally by Donny Hathaway. Just love that. A bit like you were saying, Junior, the kind of R&B vibes. And I tell you, Chris Brown's version of that, oh my gosh, it's like his voice is like caramel, right? It's just incredible. My favorite Christmas tradition, I put it in my post as well. So every Christmas in the morning for breakfast, I have my siblings and their kids round, and I do a Caribbean breakfast. So that is everything, ackee and saltfish, fried dumpling, plantain, everything. Big Caribbean breakfast. That's a big tradition for me. Okay. I feel like we could have talked about that for much longer anyway, but yeah. Perfect. But we're going to get into, so I've got 3 incredible ERG leads with me from some amazing organizations, some of my favorite ERG leads, not that I have favorites, right? But so we're going to start with kind of like a look back at 22 and 85, and then we are going to get into advice around 2026 and planning for 2026. So let's start off with the looking back at 2025. What are some of your highlights? What worked really well for you, either as a network or as a network leader? Let's start with you, Dan. What worked? What was one of your highlights for 2025? What worked well for you? And others, just feel free to chip in, right? You don't have to wait for me to draw you in.
So I think I've got 2. So Pride season was immense. This year we ended up at 41 Prides across the country, which was actually 2 more than last year. And I always want to beat last year's number. So I was chuffed to bits when we did that. And our Allies in Action learning lab sessions. So between September and October, the network ran sessions to support leaders in building their allyship knowledge and skills. Nice. We had around 220 leaders across the business join, and this was in response to the Supreme Court ruling of the definition of gender, because we believe allyship is probably the biggest weapon to equip people. It went down really well. We did work with the other networks actually to deliver those sessions. So it was a good cross-collaborative opportunity. And actually, because of it, we're going to now look at a phase 2 in the new year.
Love that. 41 prides, like literally up and down the country, right? But then obviously, you're part of the co-op, so you've got colleagues literally up and down the length and breadth of the country, right?
Yeah. It was insane. We have over, I think, all in all, 2,000 colleagues or something participate, which is good to see. And it's just a good vibe on the day, and it makes everyone happy. And it's how we connect to the community as well, like in public. So we do love Pride. It does take it out of us at the end of it. But
I can imagine if you're doing 41. Incredible. Kay, how about you? Highlights for 2025 for you, or just things that stood out, or any lessons from the year?
Yeah, I think similarly to Dan, we also were trying to build on our cross-collaboration and our intersectionality. I think the biggest highlight for me was definitely hosting and organizing and running the first ever intersectional conference at LSE, which was a cross-collaboration with the ethnic minority staff network called Embrace. And the title was Nothing About Us Without Us, Ethnic Minority and LGBTQI plus Voices Out Loud and Proud. It was multi-panel, there was a Lego workshop, there was keynote speakers, interviews with authors. It was really amazing, and a drag performance in the evening. And I was just thrilled that the conference was such a success and really well attended and really well received by the community. I would say then afterwards, I went to the ERG Summit, which you organized. And then I was just like, okay, I thought that I really nailed it on this conference, but this is like the gold standard of what I should be striving to achieve. That was also a big highlight for me. And we also organized our first presence at Trans Pride this year, which was really meaningful. And we're going to do that again next year as well. But I think overall it's a highlight, but also a challenge. Like Dan mentioned, like it has been a difficult year for the LGBTQI plus community, specifically with the UK Supreme Court ruling and, the HRC interim guidelines. And now we're waiting for the full guidelines. And it's caused a lot of fear and uncertainty in the community. It's been at times difficult to negotiate that and lead the community through that. And I've really, really valued the group here who've been so supportive and really just carried me through really as an ERG co-chair. Hats off also to Dan, because your change comms guidance has been absolutely just instrumental in how we've communicated with the community. And to Junior and Cheryl as well, just all of your insights and your guidance has led us to a position where I think we've kind of managed to some degree the fear and anxiety, and we're looking towards next steps in terms of how we can support the community further. So
that's great. That's so good to hear, honestly. It's really, really heartwarming. And this is what community is about, right? It's supporting each other through those challenges, as well as like celebrating together in the good times, right? Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. Thank you so much, Kay. Yeah, and thank you. You know, I'll never forget like meeting you at the summit. You know, you stood out. You were like literally like a ray of sunshine and energy. Honestly, it's just really memorable, really special. So thank you so much. Junior, highlights for you of 2025.
I think closing off the Rainbow Network. So I was there for 3 years, and on the 20-year anniversary as well. So it was like a nice little wrap up, 20 years celebration, and then handing over the reins to 3 new co-chairs, which I'm really happy about as well. Like, looking at the 3 new co-chairs, you've got an ally in there, you've got a non-binary person in there, and you've also got someone from India. So it's the most diverse set of co-chairs we've ever had. And my mission before I left was to make sure that we had a diverse team at the top, because it's always been men. I think then taking over the Multicultural Network, which is a bigger network, a lot more complex, but a bigger challenge. So that's been quite exciting. And we've already done some great work with Financial Times, Doc Martens, other companies like that. And I'm proud of all the work that we've done in the community, either individually or as a group. I think for me personally, looking after time to be out in the NHS for LGBT people seeking asylum brings that intersectional lens to it as well, and helps those people. Then of course, we love award seasons. So we had the LGBT awards, we were shortlisted for ethnicity awards. Many of our colleagues were on the Involved Role Models list this year, and of course, I won 2 I'm Remarkable awards this year. So, yeah, it's been a big one, 2025.
Yeah. Junior, yeah, ChatGPT missed out of your intro that you're like a multi-award winning leader. I love one of the things I wanted to pick up on you, and actually, I might just circle back to all of you, because you said about the fact that you've moved off of one network onto leading another, which is something I often say to individuals, especially if they've been running one network for a long time, because sometimes people are reluctant to step down, and I'm like, well, you could always go and lead another network, or go and join the committee of another network, right? So does NatWest have a set duration for its network leaders? Is it like a maximum term?
Yeah, we have a 3-year, well, depending on who you talk to, but most of us, it's a 3-year like stint. And then when you're 3 years up, you should really step down. But I just want to call out, the main reason why I moved across to the other network was because there were 2 positions available for one. And they pretty much approached me and said, look, we really need your expertise. So we need someone just to come in and hit the ground running, and can you apply, please? Because we have to interview and everything with the exec sponsors. So I'm like, I'll come and shuck and jive for you, I guess, and make you choose me. But I feel like you need me more than I need you anyway. So I came in there. But had there only been one space, I might have reconsidered, because someone did say, like, you don't want to take up space from somebody else and not give them the chance. But because there were 2 positions, they needed the expertise. I was like, cool, I'll come and do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing that I thought was really interesting that you mentioned, Junior, was that you had this mission for when you left the Rainbow Network to make sure that the team at the top was diverse and intersectional. And it links to, I noticed, you know, both Dan and Kay, you both talked about of your highlights is doing things with the other networks as well. And that's really important, but putting it into the structure. So making sure that if you have like more than one co-chairs, that you're kind of drawing out those elements of intersectionality is a really good way of doing it. Let's get into planning for 2026 in terms of what that looks like. And my first question is, have you run a survey? Has anybody already done a survey, or are you on the cusp of doing it, or you've already designed your survey? Who wants to start?
The Rainbow Network did, but the Multicultural Network didn't. So, yeah, that's the short answer.
Are you planning to do it? For those that haven't done one already, are you planning to do one?
For the Multicultural Network?
Yeah.
No, I think we're going to launch our new strategy first, and then we're going to get some feedback once that's launched.
Okay.
There's so much work gone into it. It's like the more ideas and thoughts can just make things a bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So strip it back,
Cool.
make it simple, and then see what we can iterate on top.
I'm gonna what I'll do. I've got a template that I've been sending to networks for the last quarter, I want to say, which is just like suggested questions that you may or may not find useful. I can share that. I'll try to remember to drop it in the comments down here. And it's just like your sort of general stuff, but there are 2 questions that I'm asking all networks to include just as an ask. So the first one is asking your members, you know, what's one thing that this business could do internally to make your life easier at work, right? And that could be a change in policy, some additional line manager guidance, changing a process, whatever it be. So you ask, that's the first question, the internal. And then the second one is external. So the second question is, you know, thinking about the customers and clients that we serve. For customers and clients that have the same lived experience as our network members, how could we change our product and or service to better meet the needs of those customers? And so what that basically does as a network is it kind of gives you ideas as to how the network can play in both spaces, both kind of helping colleagues internally, but also positioning the network to make sure that it's also meeting the needs of, you know, the wider public, customers, clients, which kind of really adds into like the impact of the network. So those are 2 of the things that I'd mention there. So for those of you that maybe aren't running your own survey, is there any other data or evidence or listening conversations or anecdotes or whatever that you're using to kind of like inform your 2026 planning? Because there'll be lots of networks. They're like, we're not going to be running a survey, but what is the information that you kind of take on board as inputs into planning for next year? Kay, do you want to start with that maybe?
Yeah, I would say on the survey, I hadn't really thought about doing one. I don't think that survey would have landed at this moment in time. It's something that we could maybe bring into the new year. And I also am cautious that people feel really over-surveyed, particularly at this time of year. And I don't want to send a survey with like not another survey, but please participate. I would say that in terms of other data or feedback that we've gotten, we did hold a members meeting in November, and that was off the back of a conclusion of a listening exercise and consultation that we had done internally at LSE, which was, you know, polling for people for their ideas and their opinions about future accessibility and facilities use. And that was a really good moment to also share the findings of the conclusion of that report with the members, and to also hear their comments and their feedback about the report, but also anything else that they wanted to share with Spectrum and how Spectrum could best support them moving forward. And we have taken that on board. I think one thing that we also discussed in group as well is more avenues of support, particularly for trans and non-binary members of staff and students. And that's something that I have particularly taken up for next year and have gotten the go-ahead to start a trans and non-binary support group. I'm mindful that it might not be the most helpful to sit in group and just kind of share the very difficult things that the community is going through. So I've structured it in a way that it's more activity focused. So I'm in conversations to do a zine making workshop to challenge representations of queerness and maybe reclaim queerness in the media sphere, because a lot of people are kind of commenting that, especially on social media and in print media, that can be quite jarring. We'll do some active bystander training, and we'll also do a queer poetry workshop and reading. So I'm really excited about that, for people to bring people together, that we can build that community, but also maybe through activities that people are empowered to open up about things that they're facing, but in a kind of more non-confrontational and non-therapeutic way as well.
Yeah. I love that. And what you said there, you know, in terms of, you said, you know, even though you haven't run a survey, you've run, but you've been listening, right? Because you've run a consultation, you've run listening exercises. So the information that comes out of that is data. It's just that it often doesn't have a number attached to it. But actually, if you're sort of like, you know, logging that, I mean, I know some people literally do sometimes turn interviews into data, into what are the themes, etc. But it's definitely data. It's all evidence that, as you say, informs then what you're going to do next year. Anybody else? Just what have you taken as inputs into your planning for next year? Junior, go ahead.
Yeah, some data points for us, and this is why we've not done a survey for the Multicultural Network, is because we've got the data from our employee opinion surveys, and it gives a breakdown of whoever disclosed their FE or whatever. We can see at what grade we've got the most diversity, and as you'd expect, it filters from the top down. But then other sources of data that I'm keen to look at are things like the talent data. So we have pools of talent in the bank. So what percentage of that are minority ethnic colleagues? And if it's a lower number, what do we need to do to not fix it, but how can we help intervene a little bit and make sure we've got the right people there? And then something as delicate as the anti-bullying and harassment data. So is there a larger number of people from minority ethnic groups raising cases or not? We need to do some spotlights on that. Is that a topic? And then the interview process. So I know a lot of people have had some nervousness around bias in interviews. And although we have a really good process, there's still that nervousness there. So do we need to deliver some confidence training or whatever on stuff like that? So I'm pulling from all these different areas to get the data that I need.
Yeah, perfect. That's I was literally going to get onto that. It links to what Kay was saying about, especially if you're in an organization where people are surveyed a lot, so that you've probably got like your annual employee engagement survey, then maybe you're in an organization that does pulse surveys as well every quarter. So there's a fear of, oh my gosh, like we're literally just surveying people to death. So as Junior said there, if you know that the data is cut in a way that kind of identifies the demographic for your network, then perfect, right? Just work with HR, and hopefully if you've got like a data and insights team that can spin some of the data for you, perfect, right? That you're not having to do it yourself, but thinking about and kind of triangulating from some of the conversations and the things that you're hearing to then, okay, where's the data that I can go and find and have a look at? Dan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so we have looked at our diversity data because we have quite a good completion rate considering the size of the organisation. I think we've got about 92% of colleagues, 55,000 colleagues have submitted their diversity data, so it gives us a good picture of the sort of colleague landscape. We have listening sessions regularly, so we use that to pull qualitative insight, and then we are looking at delivering another survey so that we can use that to inform some of our 2026 and beyond plans. It actually came from you, Cheryl, when you joined us a while ago at Co-op and sort of talked us through how some other networks are maybe structured. I've taken that away, and me and Nat have looked at how we reorganise Prism. So we've actually introduced a data and insight squad within the steering committee to look at data and insight and help that shape the things that we do. We're gonna look at building a survey and try and get it out as early as possible in the new year. But I think data is really important, and I think it adds credibility to what we do. And I think people, it just helps us. It helps keep us on track for what we're doing and the value we're adding. Because I don't think people recognise the value ERGs bring necessarily, just because it is so intangible or perceived as intangible.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So just in terms of that storytelling and that perception of credibility, if you can attach a number, even if it's just how many members you've got and the members' growth, or the positive feedback you've had on events, if that's really just your remit at the moment. But those numbers definitely help. And I'm sure I remember the first call I think I had with the team at Co-op. I think I might be right. I'm sure you mentioned data on that very first call, I think, or measurement, right? So you were definitely, you were definitely already sort of thinking in the right direction. And we've got a few good mornings that have come in. Hardev, I know, Hardev, if you want to jump in the live, just but I don't think I can multitask that well. But if you've got the link and you want to jump in, just press the link. Bernadette Thompson, OBE, good morning, Bernadette. Really good to have you here. Yeah, looking at those data sets, absolutely critical, Junior, across the employee life cycle and probably other elements of the life cycle as well. So obviously, Junior, you mentioned promotion, talent, you know, things like your high potentials or your emerging talent, you know, who's been earmarked for that. But there's also things like, I know some networks that have arranged things like pay audits, you know, looking at things like, you know, out of cycle pay increases, which we know is those are often the things that nudge the pay gaps further, right? It's, you know, discretionary bonuses, bonuses that half the population doesn't know about, all of these things, right, that happen behind closed doors. So things like that can also be useful in terms of HR data, retentions, attritions, churn, all of that stuff. Yeah, so I love the fact that you've got a data and insight squad. This is the second time I'm hearing this term coming through when talking about working groups within networks, and I love it. There's another organization that's using that term as well, squads, because it makes it sound like it's work, right? There's a little bit of work to do. It's not just coming for a chat, which I love. I want to talk about your exec sponsor. And I know exec sponsors sometimes get a bit of a hard time, rightly so, some of them, right? How involved has your exec sponsor been in the planning up to this point? And if not, that's fine. At what point are you planning to sort of like bring them in to get their views around the priorities for next year?
We're in an awkward position with our sponsors because we're actually shifting them all around across all of the networks, and we're hopefully going to have them in place before the end of January, because we'll have to do a bit of sort of resetting of expectations of, you know, what a sponsor is, a bit of history of the networks, what we want from them, kind of thing. So we've not involved them in our planning, and I actually don't think that's been a thing for us ever since I've been involved in the network. I can't think of a time when the sponsors actually sort of actively been involved in the planning, but I do know that there is an appetite for them to be more involved, because whenever I've met our sponsors, they always ask, like, what more can I do? And sometimes we don't know. So we and there's the current sort of setup of the sponsors to the networks they're assigned to has been in place for a good few years, which is why we're rotating them around to just add a bit of freshness and a different perspective on things.
What I would potentially advise then, because and there'll probably be a lot of people in a similar position. You'd be amazed how many networks I talk to that have no sponsor, or maybe have one, but they're basically MIA, like they never hear from them. So I think if you're a network, and for anybody watching this, if you're a network and you don't currently have a sponsor, this is a perfect opportunity to go chatting to lots of different senior leaders, right? Go and start like creating relationships, which is always great to have relationships with more of the senior leadership team and not just your exec sponsor anyway, right? But almost like take it as an opportunity to court a few of the different senior leaders, especially if you know that there are maybe one or two that you think would be a really good fit for your network. Like just go, just approach their if they have an EA, and try and get some time in their diary for maybe a half-hour coffee conversation. If that's not possible, just become a little bit stalkerish, right? Find out where they're next going to be. I like, you think I'm joking, but I'm actually being serious. So find out when where the next exec meeting's going to be, and just be there, so that when they come out for a coffee or a break or whatever, you're like, "Hi, I'm Dan." Da, 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 da. All of a sudden they know who you are, right? And you've prepared your elevator pitch, right, for your network. So that would be my advice if you currently don't have an exec sponsor. And you can say to them, we're thinking about priorities for next year. So I'm just speaking to a few leaders to try to get your thoughts. Just phrase it as though it's like really casual, but really you've really planned it to kind of catch them. Anyway, Junior, you've unmuted. How have you brought your sponsor in already for 2026, or how are you planning to do that?
Yeah, so obviously when I was in the Rainbow Network, we had Jennifer Tippin, who was our sponsor, and she was what I call like the gold standard of an ERG sponsor. She was just so involved, so useful, guided us, all that kind of stuff. And we get a lot of support from our inclusion team as well. And I will often try and base our strategy around the bank's inclusion strategy, so it links into the bank's objectives, so we can evidence impact. But we've got 3 sponsors for the Multicultural Network because it's so large. And we had a planning session, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, where we presented our plans for 2026. Got a bit of their guidance, but I've been doing this for like 6 years now. So I'm not really asking for your help, or I'm not asking you to tell me to change anything, because if you do, it won't change anyway. But thank you for your opinions. Like, so they're included, but at this stage, expertise across all 4 of the chairs, actually, because we all know what we're doing. It was pretty much just to include them rather than ask them for their guidance. We asked them for other things, but not for that.
And I mean, to your point, there's an element of, because they're now fully briefed on the strategy, they can now advocate for you. So as you say, if you've got a really experienced network, you know what you're doing, you've maybe got the evidence that supports these are our priorities, you're almost bringing the co-chairs in, kind of just to bring the sponsors in, just to like bring them in the loop, make sure that they're fully briefed, and they can then advocate for you like externally. It's cool. Stuart Cumberbatch, good morning, Stuart. Exec sponsor of the Deloitte Black Network, has got a question which we'll come to. Kay, first of all, I want to look to you in terms of involvement from sponsor around your project.
We're in a really unique position that similarly to Dan, there's been a bit of a shift around of the staff networks sponsors. Our sponsor is sadly going to retirement, well-deserved retirement in January. So we've been nominated a new staff network sponsor. I would say behind the scenes as well, there was quite a lot of discussion about what is it that we actually want the staff network sponsor to do. And in collaboration with the other co-chairs of the other networks, we also created a terms of reference as well. And that was more to brief staff network sponsors about, our expectations, maybe manage expectations that we have of them and they may have of us, but also to deliver parity of sponsorship support across the networks, because there was a bit of disparity. As you mentioned, Cheryl, some people are very involved, some people maybe not so involved at all. I'm really pleased with the new staff network sponsor that we have. It's very early days, but I've really seen him come in with an intent to listen and to really understand the membership, to understand our concerns, particularly very acute about any challenges that we're facing. And just to answer Stuart's question, in our case, as far as I'm aware, I don't want to make any judgments about how people's orientation, but I would say that he's more in the position of an ally rather than the same lived queer experience as some of our members. He's come to some of our events now to meet the community. That's been really, really well received. And we did a Christmas and karaoke party 2 weeks ago. And he was previously in a rock band and smashed a rendition of Mustang Sally, and gave me consent to soft launch him on the network with a video of him singing Mustang Sally. So we signed off with solidarity and a little bit of Mustang Sally. And that's kind of prepping him to come in a big way in January, where we'll also feature him in our newsletter. We've asked him loads of questions. We'll do a kind of write-up of him to our members as well. I'm excited. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, and it's a really good question. I don't know if anybody else wants to give your thoughts on that question from Stuart there. So Stuart is an exec sponsor. So Stuart is asking, is there a preference for an exec sponsor to be of the same lived experience as the network? I mean, Junior, you mentioned that you've got 3 exec sponsors. Did you say? Is that for the Multicultural Network?
Yeah. And it lends to that because one of them is of minority ethnic and the other 2 are white. And I personally think that it's good to have a sponsor who has got some connection to the topic. You don't have to be from that particular group, because that's not what's going to be possible. So if you think about LGBT visible senior leaders, that's in CEO -1, like really hard to come by. But I feel like some personal attachment to the topic, from my observations, just makes them a lot more involved, a lot more interested, and a lot more quick to support us where they need to, because they get it. I'm not saying that an ally can't do those same things, because I've seen some fantastic allies, But what's working for us is having that blend of the allyship and someone with experience.
Yeah. That's interesting. And also the model of like, multiple sponsors, which I think is becoming more common to have, like, certainly I've seen networks with 2 sponsors. Obviously you've got 3, it's big network. So that's maybe, Stuart, to your question, I always think that's good, to maybe have like an ally and then also somebody of lived experience, but also to your point, Junior, maybe somebody that has a connection somewhere. Maybe they've got a family member that has the same lived experience. Dan, your thoughts on this? Preference, response being the same?
We don't have a preference. As it currently stands, we have one of our sponsors. So we have 2 sponsors, one of which is part of the community, one isn't. So it kind of brings that balance of different perspectives when we sort of seek decisions or input from them. And we like it. Like it works for us. And I think I'm with Junior on this. I think at least one has to have some experience, personal connection. Might not necessarily be themselves being part of that community, but one of our sponsors might have a LGBTQIA plus child or family member, loved one, whoever. And I think that's good enough. But I think it just adds weight to the agenda that you're trying to deliver if they can if they understand the cause from a personal perspective and then bring it to life amongst their peers, because I just think it helps get people on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuart, hopefully that has answered your question. Let's get on to then just the priorities for next year. What are you planning to do for next year? I know one of you 2 have mentioned it already, but for maybe anybody that's listening that's maybe like thinking about some ideas, etc. What are you planning to do next year? Who wants to go first?
You can't
Junior, go ahead.
Can't give too much away, can you? Obviously, but I think because I'm obviously still new into the multicultural network, and like I said, it's a very big, complex network because we've not just got ethnicity, we've got faith, you've got going on, and the network's just got bigger and bigger. So,
and it's global, right? It's just for context for people that are listening. It's a global multicultural network, which even that has different ramifications, right? Global and multicultural. Yeah,
global, almost 10 years old, and it's got about 5,000 members. It's a lot. It's a big network. There's a lot going on, and I think because in the past we've just said, you get so excited in the ERG space, you say yes to a lot of things, and now there's a million strands in the network, and everyone's got all these different pockets of the network. I'm like, right, 2026, we need a bit of, or I'm calling 2026S. It's got to be less is more, right? So it's got to be simplification of the network. What are the important things? What are the data-led decisions? So we can evidence impact. We're just like a lot of busy brown people running around giving out patties and pakoras. That's lovely, but we need to be able to do a bit more impactful stuff and show that impact. And then, of course, enter for more awards and things like that. But I've got a massive focus on evidence and impact and well-being and progression of people as well. So using my coaching abilities, got to support with just all the stuff that goes on outside of work that impacts you internally, which will impact your career. So stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that. So many things, not just the patties and pakoras, which I've never heard that one. I'm gonna have that. But in terms of less is more. 100%. I can't say that enough to all networks. Less is more. It's so easy to kind of get the energy of the new year and want to do a million things, but everybody's got a day job, right? And the day job is always the main thing. So absolutely less is more. Dan, how about you? What's on the agenda for next year?
So I mentioned about the second phase of sort of the Allies in Action learning labs. I'm not really sure what that looks like yet, but that's something that we will pursue in the new year. Another thing I'm really looking forward to. I don't know about Ken Junior, but whenever we run events, they're typically centered around panels or lunch and learns or table talks. Format feels a bit exhausting. So we're going to look at a podcast. So we're going to create a pilot podcast in January to go out in March. This is exclusive, by the way.
You heard it here first.
We're going to see how that how that lands. We're just currently working through sort of what the segments will be, what the topics will be, and we'll kind of take it from the pilot once we kind of launch it and see how that lands. And then one other thing, so we've got Pride will always be a thing for us. We'll always try and ramp up as much participation as we can. Co-op is dead set on Pride being a staple event that we continue regardless of whatever's going on around us. And then we're actually launching a leadership development program for the LGBTQIA+ community.
Nice.
So when we look at our diversity data, we see that as you go up the structure, representation goes like that. So we are going to launch a development program to help potential leaders learn the skills that they need to progress, not necessarily in the business, but just progress into leadership roles, whatever that means. And that's launching in May. So I'm excited for that because we've never done that before. And it's a really good opportunity for colleagues within the community to build themselves and potentially grab a leadership opportunity off the back of it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Really interesting. I mean, we could do a whole topic just on that in terms of the lack of progression. You know, why was Tim Cook the first CEO in 2014 to be like openly gay? Do you know what I mean? Like there's so much to unpack there in terms of why, you know, to Junior, you made the point as well, why there is so little representation at senior levels. It's a whole nother topic, but there clearly is a barrier. There clearly are some there is some sort of barrier. I love thank you for announcing the podcast live. Is that going to be an externally available podcast as well, right?
So we're gonna launch it internally first. We'll just see what the appetite is like. We might go externally in the future, but I'm not sure, to be honest.
The one thing that I was going to say, though, what's quite interesting for an organisation like the Co-op in particular, which similar to lots of very, very large organisations in the UK, say, and potentially globally, but you've got a big kind of like frontline operational workforce that can be quite difficult to kind of like have those touch points and engage with because they probably don't have laptops, that, you know, the channels of communication aren't the same, and even the time that's available to interact with network content isn't the same. So something like a podcast, you know, so choosing a method or a medium that's kind of a little bit more accessible, etc. It's really cool. I like it. And also
that's
what you
exactly
said
why
about
we've done it.
Yeah, perfect. Also, what you said about the panels, you know, we've been thinking exactly the same with the ERG Leader Summit. In fact, so the summit that we ran in Dubai, many of you know that we did an ERG summit in November in Dubai. So we had a World Cafe format. That's what we used. So there was only one panel, one speaker, and then a World Cafe, which got individuals talking a lot more and rotating around the tables and kind of working through issues and kind of building on each other's thoughts. So that's potentially a format, but, you know, there are loads of different formats. But I'm with you. When it comes to things like conferences and events and summits, let's start trying like different formats. So maybe that's just a challenge I'll throw out to any of the networks that are watching this as well. Junior, well, before we go on to, in fact, this might segue in actually, Pride. So you mentioned Pride. So one of the things I talked about just before we went on air is there's a lot kind of going on in the Pride space generally. There always seems to be a lot going. It's always a little bit messy boots. Just put it like that. So have you, you know, are you going to be like changing your strategy in terms of Pride going forward for next year? I mean, Junior, I know that you get involved in Black Pride as well, I want to say. So just wanted to get your thoughts for anybody that's listening. And Pride also is it can be expensive, you know, it can potentially take a lot of budget as well. So just what are your strategies when it comes to Pride in particular in your organisation? Dan, I'll start with you. Have you changed anything this year based on last year or not? Or do you think you will be?
I think the only thing we might change is, and it's probably taps into that expensive point that you just raised. When you say go to London Pride, it costs thousands of pounds. you could probably go to 10 other prides for the same price. So I think it's maybe worth thinking about for us. Do we spread ourselves wider for the sake of attending one pride so we can reach more communities, or actually is the prominence of attending London Pride really worth the value that we get from it? It's a question that we constantly ask ourselves. My personal view is I would much rather reach different as many communities as possible than funnel lots of resource into just one particular area, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Junior, would you agree with that as an approach?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for what the Rainbow Network will do next year, but I know they'll have a similar separate Pride budget. And the reason why we'll still be at the larger ones is because that's where our main offices are. We've got most colleagues there that can attend. And there has been some governance issues in the past with smaller prides where things have just surfaced about the organisers. It's just things have gone wrong and it's just put us off a little. So I think we'll still have that presence, but look at supporting things like UK Black Pride, where it's not necessarily you don't pay to get in, but you could have a stall, you could just do something to help the smaller prides, because we've got all this, like you say, budget to support. But then we're London like every year, so I reckon they'll do something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Kay, anything you want to add in terms of? I mean, you talked about supporting Trans Pride.
Yeah, I do find Pride, as much organisation as you can put into it as a network, it's always very chaotic on the day. I'd love to try more coordination and collaboration with the university sector. So try to liaise with the other groups who are also walking, so we can all walk together, and also with the trade unions. I would say I also don't find, I know they do a big push for accessibility of Pride, but it's a very, very, very long day on your feet, oftentimes in quite like heat in central London. So it's not always, I would say it's not always the event that people, although it's great to have that visibility and that show of support, and I think it's really important that it happens every year, and I always support it. Sometimes it's not really accessible for all members to really come out in that way. But I think Trans Pride in particular, in recent years, I marched this year and it was like over 100,000 people as well. That definitely has a less corporate, more grassroots protest spirit to it. And it's a really, really lovely experience as well. So we'll do both, and I'll just need to work a little bit more on the coordination piece.
Yeah, I mean, what it sounds like there. So for anybody that's listening, and even if you are not the lead for your LGBTQIA plus network, but it takes planning, right? It takes planning. There needs to be a strategy. Somebody needs to really plan it in terms of the budget, and as Dan was saying, potentially looking at what's the return on the investment, or looking at it, as Junior was saying, in terms of from a brand perspective, or where have we got most colleagues, where do we need to be? So definitely take some planning. Junior, for the Multicultural Network for next year, I feel I'm getting a 2-for-1 with having you, Junior, here. So for your even though we're missing Lisa Ardley-Price, I don't know, she never arrived. For your
she's toddler issues as well, Dan.
It's fine. But for your Multicultural Network, what have we covered yours already? What you're planning for next year?
Yeah, so you did me.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I've done UK. Okay, amazing. That was kind of like all we were going to cover. That's it. That's a wrap. So hopefully, thank you for everybody that's joined in the comments. We're gonna wrap it up there, and I'm gonna let people get back into their Christmas traditions. For anybody that joined maybe late, the question that was at the top of the call that you missed was, what's your favorite Christmas film, Christmas song, or Christmas tradition? I almost feel like we should be finishing with like Auld Lang Syne or something, but maybe not. But it just, I'm just sort of left to say, I just really want to give you guys your flowers in terms of, the work that you do as network leads, and to anybody that's watching this. And also, we've got the odd sponsor on here as well. Just, given that people do this on top of their day jobs, I really hope that your organizations are giving you all big big bonuses. Tell them that's what I said, right? Cheryl said you deserve a big bonus. Yeah, for anybody that's watching, thank you for watching. We've had Kay O'Neill, who is the Spectrum lead at London School of Economics. We've had Dan Sayers-Yates, who's co-chair at Prism and commercial change lead at the Co-op. And I think the Co-op actually is quite an activist organization. That's how I like to describe it to other clients. And then we've had Junior Beaman, who is a leadership coach, and you'll be seeing probably more about that next year, because you also coach externals, right, as well. So Junior is a leadership coach at NatWest Group, and we've got one more tradition that's made it in my own version of a Negroni. Has a boozy cherry in it, and I call it a homegrowny. We love that. We absolutely love that. Great content. Thank you so much, Stuart. And that's it. That's it, really. Yeah, hopefully I'll be seeing more of you very soon. I'm sure we'll be having a call soon. But next year's ERG Leader Summit, the format will be different. Dan, you've thrown down the gauntlet, and I'm going to take it. If people want to connect with you and find out more about you, where do you spend most of your time in terms of online? Are you mainly LinkedIn, or are you like on Instagram or somewhere else? Junior, how about you? Are you mainly LinkedIn, or are you Insta? Or is your Instagram not family friendly?
No, it is. I'm saying I'm mainly LinkedIn. Because you know LinkedIn Wrapped, and it's like your year, and my most connected person is you, Cheryl. I was going to send you the picture today. I saw it. You're my number one. My LinkedIn and my Instagram are quite similar, but if you want a more personal insight to what I'm doing, the Instagram stories, it's a business account. It's JB Culture Coach, which is on my LinkedIn anyway.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Kay, where do you live mostly online? If people want to get in touch with you and find out more, if there are any other academic and any other people from academia that wanted to connect with you, where's the best place to connect with you? LinkedIn, Insta, Facebook?
Yeah, LinkedIn also for me, and also very mortifyingly for my LinkedIn 2025 Unwrapped. Junior, you're the most person that I'm in.
You're the fifth person to tell me that I'm their most. I'm like, how do people not talk to on LinkedIn? But,
yes. And then it was just like, share it with this person, and I was so mortified that I was just like, I'm not sharing this with Junior.
Podcast instead.
So we're all following each other, it seems. But LinkedIn is definitely the place to connect. I am on Instagram, but I do a lot of content creation for too many Instagram channels, so I prefer to keep mine a little bit more personal, and I hardly post on my own Instagram because I'm just so up to my eyes with content. But yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. And Dan, where can people find Dan? Because Dan, I know you're plugged into quite a few sort of LGBTQ plus networks as well, right?
Yeah, so I think LinkedIn's probably the best way to connect with me. I only joined Instagram like 2 months ago. Yeah, I don't know why. And funnily enough, on the Wrapped thing, my most connected person was Simon Blake, the CEO of Stonewall. I've never actually spoken to Simon, so I think what LinkedIn has just told me is that I'm a stalker of Simon Blake. So Simon, if you're watching, I'm really sorry. Just stay away, probably. But yeah, LinkedIn, definitely.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you all so much. And I'm just really wishing you all a really good break. I just hope that you really get to just chill out, put your feet up, don't think about it, and then come back into next year ready to rock and roll, right? Thank you so much. And for everybody that's watching live, thank you so much for staying with us. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for spending 58 minutes and 42 seconds of your day with us. Take care. And we're out of there. All right. Don't go yet.